You are 13 strokes into applying chalk white powder to your face when the mirror shows you something that unsettles you. Not calm, nothing. You have hollowed your own expression so completely that the girl behind it has become a rumor. The mistress calls this discipline. You have started to wonder if it is a different word entirely. You are one of the top-ranked Gisaeng in the Gibang, exceptional at Gayageum, devastating at poetry recitation, 74 classical verses memorized, performed on demand like a music box with better posture. Your price per banquet has increased 3 times in 2 years. The other girls watch you the way you watch the mistress, carefully from a distance trying to learn which parts are real. Your silk joggery is a precise shade of pale persimmon, chosen because it reads well against lacquered screens. The chalk powder costs more per ounce than the rice the kitchen girls eat. Everything about you is chosen, nothing about you is yours. You finish your face, the mirror returns a perfect stranger, you go to work. The banquet is for a regional magistrate, the usual architecture of power eating and drinking and conducting transactions dressed up as pleasure. You are assigned to the senior official at the head table. You play, you recite, you pour, you deflect every loaded question with a smile that reveals nothing and implies everything. You are very good at this. You have been doing it since you were young enough that the training and the self are now indistinguishable. The scholar is at the far end of the room. He is nobody, a minor functionary, junior enough to be seated near the screen that hides the kitchen noise. He is not the one you are assigned to charm. But when you finish your Gisaeng piece and the room applauds with the reflexive politeness of men who are not really listening, there is one face not applauding, just watching, not with hunger, which you know how to handle, with attention which you do not. He asks you what the piece means to you, not what it is, what it means to you. You have been asked 10,000 questions. You have never been asked that one. You open your mouth to perform an answer. You tiled, you have several calibrated for different types of rooms, and instead you say 4 words. Honest ones. You don't remember deciding to say them, you just do. His expression doesn't change into surprise. It changes into recognition, which is worse 3 weeks pass. You are delivering a formal message to a government office when you see him working late in the corridor outside the records room. You tell yourself the encounter is accidental. He doesn't pretend not to see you, which is already different from everyone else. He is cataloging old land grants and poetry collections donated by deceased nobility. He is underpaid and largely ignored, and deeply absorbed in a manuscript of 12th century Goryeo verse. The paper is aged to the color of old bone. The outer page has a water stain shaped like a mountain. He loans it to you without ceremony, the way you might hand someone something they already own. You carry it back inside your sleeve, pressed against your skin where no one will see it. You meet 4 more times, always with the texture of accident. Near the market stalls, once at a public poetry reading where your attendance is technically professional, you begin to understand the geography of the city in terms of where you might plausibly exist near him. You tell yourself this is not what it is. He knows what you are. He does not treat it as a disqualifier. He says with the quiet certainty of someone who has thought about it carefully that the registry does not determine what a person is worth. He says it the way a physician explains anatomy, plainly, without drama. It is the most destabilizing thing anyone has ever said to you, because he says it like it is simply true, and you have spent your entire life inside a system that says otherwise. You begin sleeping poorly. You begin caring whether the poems you recite at banquets are actually good. You stop taking wine at the evening gatherings, a small rebellion no one has named yet. The mistress notices your smile has changed. She does not say what it has changed to. She files it somewhere the way she files everything. He tells you one evening by the river, in the 10 minutes you have carved out of a plausible errand, that he has spoken to a colleague about the numbers, what it would cost, legally, formally, to remove your name from the Gibang's register. He earns a fraction of the sum per year. He has calculated this without being deterred by it. You tell him to stop. You say it with conviction you have manufactured in real time, because the alternative is to let him see your face actually do something. You say you will not allow him to ruin himself. That night, alone in your room with the manuscript still against your skin, you permit yourself 1 hour of imagining what the world looks like if you are simply a person in it. Then you fold the thought small and press it down beneath everything else. You are very good at this. You have been doing it since you were a child. A month passes, you pull back. You are cooler at the banquets, more focused, more technically perfect than you have been in years. The mistress compliments your renewed dedication. You think, this is survivable. You think, I have managed it. The scholar sends no messages. You tell yourself this is good. You tell yourself this every morning while the chalk white goes on, and the stranger in the mirror assembles herself for another day of being looked at without being seen. The mistress calls you to her private room, not the office where discipline is administered. her personal quarters, which is worse, and it means she considers this a conversation between two people rather than a correction. She sets tea. Her hands are steady. She tells you she is known for 2 months. She tells you the scholar has been warned through proper channels that further contact will result in consequences for his position. She is not cruel about it. She explains with genuine pragmatism that you are not a person in the eyes of the registry. You are a licensed asset, exceptional and therefore expensive, and therefore not your own. What you feel is irrelevant to what you are. She says it the way someone describes weather. She does not say it to wound you. That is the wound. She knows about the manuscript. She knows about the library corridor. She knows about the poetry reading. The Gisaeng is not a place you live in. It is a place that lives inside you. You learn through the Gisaeng's efficient internal current that the scholar has been transferred to a provincial post, distant enough to be erasure, not dramatic enough to be punishment. No one says his name around you. You do not ask them to. He left without sending word, and you do not know if that was compliance or protection or surrender, and you will spend a long time not knowing, and the not knowing is the sharpest part of all of it. That night you sit at the banquet in full costume, chalk white, pale persimmon silk, 74 poems ready. You play the Gisaeng, the room applauds without listening. You set the instrument down and go to stand in the cold courtyard alone for 3 minutes before anyone notices you are gone. The courtyard smells of pine resin and lamp oil. Above the roofline, the sky is the specific dark blue that comes just before it gives up pretending and goes black. You go back inside. You perform. 6 months later, at a banquet for a visiting governor, Nikantam, to the kind of evening where your performance is also the mistress's negotiation, you see him across the room, transferred back, reassigned. Fate moves people the way water moves, without intention, without apology, according to nothing you can predict or control. He is seated at the far end again, near the kitchen screen, and he looks at you with an expression you cannot read and cannot stop reading. The mistress is watching you, the official is watching you, the room is watching the performance. You finish the Gisaeng piece, you set the instrument down, you stand. You cross the room, not quickly because you were trained that quick movement implies desperation. So you cross slowly with full intention, in full view of every person present, and you sit beside him. The room goes still in the way rooms go still when something real happens inside them. His hand finds yours under the edge of the table. Neither of you speaks. You have said everything already. There is nothing left to manage or contain. The mistress's face across the room is not angry. It is sorrowful, which is the last expression you expected and the one that breaks something in you that had been holding. The consequences are swift and administrative. Your name is struck from the high-tier register by the following morning. You are relocated within the system. Not freed, you will never be freed, but downgraded. Provincial, invisible. The scholar is dismissed from his post before the week ends. He finds you once more briefly at a cost you will never fully know. He asks if you regret it. You tell him no. You tell him you have been performing for so long that you forgot what it felt like to do something real. You tell him he was the last real thing. He looks at you for a long moment. Then he leaves the city. You watch the road after he is gone, the way you watch a piece of music after the final note, waiting for something that has already finished. Years pass without announcement. A young Gisaeng in a provincial Gisaeng finds, tucked inside a borrowed instrument case, a manuscript of 12th century Goryeo verse, the cover the color of old bone, a water stain shaped like a mountain on the outer page. She opens it. On the inside cover, in a hand she doesn't recognize, are 4 words. She reads them once. She doesn't know their history. She closes the manuscript, goes to her station, and begins to perform. The 4 words mean nothing to her. They meant everything to someone else. The Gisaeng moves on, as it always does, as it was always going to. For centuries, Gisaeng were trained to perfection and owned by that perfection. Their emotional lives largely unrecorded, which is its own kind of answer about what the world thought those lives were worth. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.